Yeah. Here we go. Yeah.
There's pizza in my room.
Didn't have any fried food left.
It was some sort of channel.
Yeah. What? I want to try this.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I can't remember how to do it on your phone. There we go. There we go. I hope. I have to shut my computer off, not just with me, but like a bunch of other stuff.
Just look at me.
Like your shirt. Yeah, we're pretty well. I guess 'cause I'm not-
States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, for liberty and justice for all.
And I'm moving things around on the agenda. Okay. First, under discussion. Accept the new superintendent on Gallagher.
Recording in progress.
And we added H on consent agenda action items. We added H.
What is H?
Yeah, it's actually
It's
listed.
not a-
And then under resignations. House and Brick and Mortar, we have A and B.
I'm sorry, you said Allison brick and mortar, resignations, A and B. Those are already on.
But they weren't on your original. Oh, I see the one that you sent us.
Yeah. they were-
Oh,
they were on-
okay, I
yeah,
was like-
Yeah, they weren't on the email.
Okay. All right, that's what we were trying to clarify.
Thank you.
Very much.
I need a motion and a second.
Can you explain, since it's an entirely new format now, the difference now that we have consent agenda items, what's that different definition for?
Consent agenda items are, you can have one motion and second, and then discussion and vote for that whole section. But you can pull out anything you want to discuss also if there's any questions.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with changes from A and B. And then we're adding H right for the auditors. On the discussion. It's already on the.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Approval of minutes, February 10th, 2022.
So on item 3, approval of minutes, January 13th, from the first sentence. Says the minutes as presented under, we get the in out of that space. Sure. Thank you. So I remember in this meeting, didn't we have our discussion item? Wasn't it, sorry, discussion item of the masking, wasn't that done in the very beginning? Because the news, we're
Right
here.
off the agenda.
Go from the back of the agenda to the.
So we moved CFO's report into the very beginning.
Oh, okay,
So that should be, I believe, above the audit
okay,
of Glenn Kearns.
yeah.
And then in that same discussion, we had discussion in that about masking and the discrepancy of information that was shared with the board on the resolution. at the very beginning. I just don't see anything in the minutes about that.
That was right underneath audit presentation, number 4.
So I guess, I just want to add that there is discussion in the superintendent CFO's report regarding the resolution. He had given a presentation to the audience about how things were going, given his report on that. There is discussion that included that we did not, prior to voting, we did not receive information regarding funds being removed or IEP consequences to the kids. So I'd like that discussion information put it back in the minutes, because there was a lot that I know that I talked about in that part of it.
What was it, just the IEP, it was the speech
It
therapy?
was all of it, yeah.
It was
So
all
there
of
was, all
The
of my
kids.
comments are missing from there.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Only motion to table the approval of minutes until we get a corrected version, please. So I'll make a motion to table that until we get a corrected version.
Second motion.
Favor?
Aye.
Table on this meeting. Take components, got a couple. Jamie, got 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Jamie Olson. A collective group of community members wanted me to share this letter with everybody here tonight. Dear Alsea neighbors, as you may know, there is an upcoming election on April 4th where you will have the opportunity to vote on recalling 2 board members. A yes vote would remove Ron and Jeff. A no vote would retain them. It is our desire at the Alsea community issue a resounding no to this ASB recall. Before you cast your ballot, please consider the following points. Ron and Jeff have spent their entire lives as our neighbors in this community. They have served our ASB for 12 and 7 years respectfully. Across these years, macro trends rendered an economic population downturn during which our town all but faded away. Mr. Cates and Mr. Davis and this community saw us through those years. In 2017, Alsea Schools attendance was 140 students, 20% from outside the district. In 2017, the acting superintendent, Mark Thielman, transitioned Alsea to a charter school model. In 2020, the current enrollment is 515 LAHO, 153 Alsea online, 46 Alsea options, 260 in person, 99 of which of those are out of town. Bottom line, 19 collective years of service on the school board without prior complaints deserves more respect than what we have witnessed in the past several weeks. It is published in the published election statement. It is stated that this is due to failed representation of public interest regarding masking. Sorry, I'm summarizing a bit for my minutes, but the board voted unanimously for this resolution. Therefore, we feel that it should be a full recall, not just 2 people pointed out. Ultimately, we'd like to express our gratitude to all past, present, and future ASB members for their service to our children, school, and community. These are time-consuming volunteer roles that have been thankless for far too long. It's time for us all to re-engage and reinvest in our community while honoring those who have worked quietly behind the scenes. Please vote no on the recall, and thank you for your service to our community.
Mary?
Can't hear you through that, Ron.
Sorry.
It's okay. I want to welcome our new acting superintendent for just a couple minutes, and then you'll be better. We are excited to have you here. And from the background I've read, I have faith that you will be able to solve and work out any issues that the school or community has. Not sure why you would want to do that, but thank you. All the issues that happen to be going on at the same time in the Alsea School District are somewhat separate, but yet also intertwined. We have the bond issue, the recall issue, and the complaints. Because the bond error that was made, I am sure with the other issues, some members of the community felt that in order for the bond to be represented properly and dissected in a viable way, that Mr. Thielman needed to be gone. In order to do that, they had to recall 2 board members they felt most sided with him, whether they knew their intentions and or motivations. This would probably have created a 3-2 split, and I say probably, for his departure. Then along came a few who made complaints against Mr. Thielman and a couple others. They are given a one-sided platform in the Gazette Times to express their discontent. An investigation commences. Now, because of this, Mr. Thielman feels he should resign. Like it or not, after this happened, many kids and parents were upset. This added fuel and prowess to an already tense situation. So now we have a recall for these 2 board members after the original goal was met, knowing it had nothing to do with masking, since most of the signatures on the recall don't believe in masking. And I will add that after research, only about 13% of the signatures on the recall have kids in school. Now, many of the signatures have had kids in school generationally and care about it. But those people aren't seeing the depression and heartache walking through their door every day. Needless to say, this and the complaints are tearing our community apart. We do have faith, however, that the investigators, the new superintendent, and the board can sift through this and prevail. Through this entire issue, I have seen firsthand heartbreak turmoil that our kids have gone through. They are depressed and heartbroken over the rhetoric that has been spewed at their teachers by a very few, some in tears because they don't want this to be the last year their mentors are here. I'm a grandmother of a senior, a sophomore, and a fourth grader. I have lived here 14 years. I have seen incompetent teachers, ones who have acted far outside of their lane. Fortunately, through trial and error, now we have a group of teachers that we can be proud to call our own. We have two admins, Eric and Tim, who have done an amazing job. We have enough kids to play sports and expand many avenues of learning. This is because of our board, and also you have to credit Mr. T. As per your action items, I would like to ask the board not to accept Mr. Crow's resignation unless it's what he really wants. He is one of the best teachers, coaches, and people that I have known. All you have to do is ask the kids and parents, and that's the proof. He is an amazing mentor. He is also one of the fairest coaches we have. He cares about kids alike, boys and girls. He is asked to do many things for our school and donates much of his own time. So if he resigns, it will be a great loss to many.
Middle school, high school report.
I couldn't hear you, Ron. Was that me?
Sorry, middle
Okay,
school,
sorry.
high school report.
I'm gonna go ahead and talk from here. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, as you can imagine, mid-March, senioritis is fully kicked in. Week to spring break, herding cats half the time with the junior high and high school kids. I mean, I think we all can understand that. Through that and with the obvious, I would say distractions to some of our students right now, a lot going on, but I'd like to commend our staff, number one, keeping the kids with their eye on the prize. It's a sprint to spring break and then come back and hit the reset button, and it'll be a sprint to the end of the year. Middle school leadership is working to come up with a series of activities. I think Catherine Ellis and several of the 8th grade kids especially spent some time planning some fun activities for the junior high kids as we get down the stretch. We're also planning a combined prom with Eddyville for mid-May, I think it looks like. We're still working on a final date. Their graduation time is different than ours, so we're working that out around Memorial Day weekend-ish, maybe a little bit before. And then obviously senior banquet and graduation will be here before we know it. It feels like it's about 10 minutes away. So there's a lot going on. We're with Mr. Roberts, staff, starting to plan those things out. It's a whirlwind, but it's a good whirlwind. And I really will commend our staff. Say it over and over. They're fantastic. And the words Terry talk about the man right next to me and our staff as an entirety. Quick shout out to Patsy Jones. She is as good as it gets and stepping in and filling in for a health issue for a staff member. She is truly unbelievable. Thank you to Patsy for filling in and important role. Thank you to Cheyenne Jones. Cheyenne's a newbie to us and doing a fantastic job in a tough situation, inheriting middle school math. I mean, quick hand, who wants that job, right? So shout out to Cheyenne as well. The shuffling of the deck has been pretty seamless really overall for middle school and high school. Our staff just gets it done. They're fantastic. I'll stand by them every single day of the week. And, hope they give you guys some awful fun reports down the stretch in April, May, and see everybody at graduation. So that would be it.
Thank you, Eric. Online program.
Our online programs, our Learn at Home Oregon, this was as of Tuesday, was 5:15. Our Greenways, which is ALSI online, was at 1:53. Our ALSI options was 46. Crestwell Farm School 16. The Corvallis Farm Program was down to 1. This week we have relocated. Last week, this whole week, we've been relocated that one student back here, so they have peers, and so that is back here on campus. This is also in the process of now finding an alternate place for the central offices for our online programs. That operates, basically for 740 students, roughly. So we are relocating that into a different spot. The our program, basically the Learn Home program and the Greenways, those contracts have not been reviewed for next year. That will be something that will be coming up for April, May, something. So that would be some things for the board to be considering. And the other one that has came up, I think in the local divide or whatever, has been our graduation numbers. And one thing that needs to, I think, be addressed is where is this at? Where do we see the 40% come from? And this is where under having the community, because the community is feeling that the LC brick and mortar is not meeting the needs of our students. And I want to make sure everyone understands that's not where the numbers are coming from. Last year, LC had my data is 14 out of 15 that graduated, which is 93%. But because we are a charter district, all of our programs come under one high school code. That one high school code encompasses our Greenways program and our options program. And right now, this year, there are 30, I just lost that number in my head. I want to say there's 34 seniors, 35 seniors. Some of them have already met their stuff for diploma, which is 5. 5 of them have already completed their stuff for their diploma. However, if they only pick up 2, 3 more, that graduation rate combined with our brick and mortar rate brings it way down. So then people are going to ask, well, what is going on there? Most high school kids that go to online programs have already been at brick and mortars for multiple years. So their freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, they've been trying brick and mortar programs. And now they're at their senior year and they come into our online programs. And so this is an opportunity to have kids who have struggled in a traditional setting to find hopefully success. And so as a program, this is trying to reach out to kids, to bring kids in, get them the diploma. This is something that I have felt has been a positive, is giving kids an opportunity, an option for an education that maybe works better for them. Now there's risks that go along with that. And one of the risks is that you'll have a lower graduation rate. That you're grabbing kids that are in need, that have not been on track to graduate. So naturally, you're going to have a riskier population for those statistics. So that's where later on, the board will have to make a consideration that the committee says, hey, the graduation rate is our #1 priority. Then they'll have to make a decision about online programs because that's a riskier population. I think commend Mr. C and our staff. We do have a great staff, and the kids here have done very well. They come through. They have kids that are graduating, and it's been very successful. And there's been some misinterpretation of the data points, and that's been, in my opinion, that's unfortunate because that's not always all the data. So that's how we're going.
We have athletic report. Okay, we'll go on to discussion items. We have athletic report back there.
No.
Okay. On discussion items and E to A, accept new superintendent Sean Gallagher contract. Send out.
It's different.
Send it back out. Those. 11 o'clock today and was in bed until about 3.
Sometimes we just have to do that.
You really needed to take a
I'm
nap.
sick. Something that somebody else has in the house and I'm not sure what it is.
What's that?
Hello, sorry, I wasn't sure I could be unmuted. So athletic director report is spring sports are going and we have high school track and field with 3 athletes and softball is pulling together. Hopefully we'll have 9 on Monday. And if they don't, then we will have to just co-op with Philomath. But right now they will have 9, possibly 10 on Monday. So some just had doctor's appointments and were struggling to get equipment these last few days. But I've been talking to them, face to face, that they'll be there on Monday. So we'll see. And high school football in the fall will be going 8-man. And yeah, Mr. Crow's resignation is on the agenda that he submitted, and I agree with Terry's patron comments that it would be a very unfortunate loss situation that with his resignation, and wish we could refuse it. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
There might be, I think there might be a discrepancy. In under duties, item B. At least 4 days per week, but then under compensation, it says such compensation shall be based on 5 work days. They're different. They're different.
4 days per week.
It's on district
On
and
district
then take
here.
time.
And the 5th is on the fall.
Yes.
Working from home.
Don't you get that? She did it for me. I just wanted to make sure I was aware.
Discussion on cash flow and finance. One of the action items, consent agenda, action items. We accept the new superintendent, Sean Gallen contract.
So we're moving to action items to do that.
So you can officially keep it. You can talk after this, okay?
So I'll make a motion to accept this new superintendent Sean Gallagher contract.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome.
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 Thank you. I can talk.
Yeah.
I have a voice.
Back to cash flow.
Is Nancy gonna talk us through it tonight?
Sean, going to talk us through it.
I haven't even really seen it. I barely had a chance to meet with Nancy this afternoon. I could definitely have her here the next week.
That'd be awesome. 'Cause I think we
Yes.
need a better, I'll speak for myself, I need a better
You bet.
understanding of what this is actually telling us so
Got
that
it.
we can explain to the community what our financials are actually looking like.
Completely agree.
On project update.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Scott Marshall here tonight. He's our architect for the bond project. He's going to give you kind of a brief rendition of, we just had our bond committee meeting earlier this evening. Very detailed, and lots of questions answered during that time, but he's just going to kind of give you a brief rendition, and hopefully between he and I, we can address where we're at with the project.
Just want to give you an update. The power service upgrade portion for the school has been with Consumers Power for Engineering since January. We're still working on that. All the documents are completed and they're in contractor's hands for bidding purposes once we get information back from them. The power upgrade room where the new panels are going to be. Those documents are done. They're in for permit county, as well as the middle school free classroom addition. Those are also in the county for building permit. We have applied for the floodplain permit. We have applied for the conditional use application permit. So all of the paperwork for all the jurisdictional approvals for what we're doing right now are in and under review. That's pretty much it. And we could have a bond prior to this. We're going to go through a lot of detail, and I think it was a good meeting, and it's very clarified what kind of communication moving forward needs to be. And we are making headway.
One thing I heard very clearly tonight was increased communication, and we intend on doing that. Point of contact would be me. So, but I know that we're going to be disseminating some more contact information possibly for the committee. But they are a very important part of communications to the community, and let you know where we're at. I'm still getting my head around this also, so just be patient with me. Give me time here. I may not have the answers right away, but I'll do my best. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
One of the things that was discussed in the bond committee tonight was the commitment of work to be done versus the amount of money we have to actually finish the work. So at what point do do we sit down and start reprioritizing what's being done? Because we have about, what I heard was we have about a third of the funds to actually complete this project.
That's a big question, is where we're at with our current budget, what money we possibly have either set aside or could set aside, because there is a difference between what the numbers are coming in at to complete the project versus the numbers of what we're able to raise through the bonds and the Austin grant. And we have to keep in mind, we did not get the seismic grant. And Marshall explained tonight, most of those grants went to fire stations last year. Yeah, I can see that trend. So I know we have a reapplication done for the seismic, but that doesn't automatically make up the difference. There's some overlap that can happen with some of that. So we need to be taking a look and asking those questions. Gee, what can we do to try and make up that difference? Because we did take to the voters a very lengthy list of projects, but because of increased costs and materials, 12% increase. And I've done a lot of these projects, folks, and I've never seen a 12% increase in materials between inception go out for bids. Also, I think there's been some delays with our student population changes, and priorities are, so I'll be working with the admin team and communicating with the bond committee and trying to get some of those answers taken care of, because we've got Mr. Marshall and I can't remember Derek, the CMGC guy. They're working hard to try and meet our needs. Make sure that we're giving them accurate information, something that they can pull.
And then at what point do we consider possibly bringing in that third-party project manager to come in and really run that?
Good
Or
question.
is that something, because we
Good
do
question.
have a company locally in town that can do something like
Yeah,
that.
good question. And I think from what you've heard from Mr. Marshall tonight, as well as my experience, is you usually don't want to go out for a project manager on small projects because the cost, they take 8 to 10% of the budget.
So theirs is about 2%. I just know that, I'm just saying.
Okay,
But
got it,
I
got
mean, I
it,
think
but
it's
still.
worth having that conversation.
Yeah, I understand. But right now, I'm very confident in Mr. Marshall as our architect being kind of maintaining and monitoring all those contracts. He's under license as an architect. Big problems there. And then I feel very confident in my skill set and background to be managed from the education side. As I mentioned in my interview, you always want to put boots on the ground, but they see things from the engineering side, which is great. That's what they're trained to do. It takes people, it takes educators to see it from the educators. And together, we can make sure things are done copacetically. And so I would not recommend you take the expenditure for a project manager. That's something that, if the board feels passionate about, certainly could look at that, but I'm not seeing the need. That's based upon experience and other. Okay.
ESC local service plan.
Mr. Chair, I'm not hugely familiar with the details of this service plan, but it's an annual thing. We're not to approve. It's our relationship with our local ESD. And in terms of how they're delivering services to us, and I look forward to working with.
I don't see it as an action item. What do we need to discuss about this service plan, Ron? what's up for discussion?
This is just one is what they do.
So what is there a cost associated with the service plan?
There will be, usually these come in phases. And so what this is, just a first look see in terms of the services they provide.
Okay.
But we'll bring them back to you, with that information on the financials and what that's going to look like. I need to time to see what their calendar is. Because each ESD has a certain calendar that they approve with the school district. And I need to get this. They have to build their budget.
So we're just voting tonight to
You're just
do that
reviewing.
relationship, to have that conversation before
Actually, no,
contracts.
no vote tonight. You're just
Okay.
reviewing. Oh, you did put it there?
Yeah.
Oh, oh,
So can we remove some action items then? We don't have
'cause
a-
I'm not, I'm like you. I'm not seeing anything here to approve. This is just their programs. Unless you're seeing something different, Ron.
We can maybe we can just table that till next month after you have time to meet with Tanya.
No, that's a good question. I'm seeing some FTE attached to these though. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to look. So
Next month.
I think we might want to, oh, yes, that's so, I need to get a handle on this.
Thank you.
All of this report. Oh, that's I thought that's what we're done. Sorry.
Yes,
Yes,
Ken's
I-
back here.
SIA grant, Eric, you have a
Okay,
number of
yes.
questions that need to be read off.
Yes,
as a
I got,
qualification.
okay, so so everybody understands, each year the ODE will ask you to kind of do a public statement for the board and community, your annual report questions in regards to the SIA, which is your student investment account. So I'm sure everybody's very excited to listen to me read for a while, but you know, it's where we are and oxygen probably needed at the end, but these are kind of 4 questions and the district answers, so it's just a public testimony on how this works. So bear with me, guys. Question number 1. There are clear impacts from the reduction in SIA funding and from the direct efforts to respond to COVID-19. While you can't fully set those aside, what is important for your community, including focal student groups, families, and educators to understand about your SIA implementation efforts during the 2021 school year and now the positive impacts that have occurred. How are you able to make progress towards the goals and outcomes you were aiming at with SIA funding and processes? The answer to that, we were able to add additional staff to facilitate single grade classrooms to our K-5 section of our school. The community has been profoundly supportive of these investments. This process did not create any opposition or barriers, which is a nice aspect of being such a small system. Question number 2, what barriers, impediments, or challenges to your SIA implementation have you faced or identified that are helpful for your community and or state leaders to be aware of? Answer, ironically, the familiarization with Zoom and other meeting platforms has actually increased our connection and level of community participation. The majority of participants still prefer in-person settings, but everyone engages with the online participants well. We did have to invest in a large screen and some conference speaker equipment, camera system, etc. I believe that was the end of that one. Question number 3. SIA implementation includes ongoing engagement with focal students, the families of focal students, and educators. What successes and challenges, if any, have you experienced in maintaining engagement? The answer, engagement is ongoing. We have added a media coordinator who works with teachers and staff to do student class program features that have been very popular with our parents and community stakeholders. It's beneficial for parents to see the product of these strategic and local investments of SIA funds. Last but not least, number 4, please share your professional assessment of what guided your choices and prioritization efforts in the first year of SIA implementation. What stands out? Anything important or surprising to report back or reflect on? How were key decisions on scale down implementation made? What impacts, if any, are helpful to name and how you navigated through the last year specifically as it relates to SIA implementation. Answer, that's a lot, right? We had originally prioritized our SIA investments, so when funds were reduced, we simply funded the first priority. No real barrier existed due to good staff and community buy-in and clear communication of priorities during public board meetings. The fact that our K-12 was able to stay open all school year also served to reduce the complexity of how to invest our SIA funding. Game, set, match. Superintendent Gallagher, LC School Board, there you go.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, what are we voting on? That say grant, whether we're gonna apply for it or whether we're gonna renew it, or
It's just
I
a
didn't catch that
discussion,
part.
it's just a discussion item because one of the requirements to make the application for the grant is to make sure. that the questions are
we're not voting on it then?
answered.
It's on, it's on
We take it off of the action items.
No. Eric, am I correct in that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't
Do
hear
they
you.
need to make any kind of a motion on the SIA grant?
We need to do something for you to continue to get it, or
I just read the questions and answers. I think it just had to be. I drew the short straw anyway, guys. That's how I got here.
okay, I just don't, I didn't understand what the action was that you needed us to take
I
tonight.
think as we submit this to the state, there just had to be a public proclamation of the questions and the associated answers that we're gonna submit on our report.
Okay,
That's
sure.
my understanding, but you heard what I read and I don't understand half of that myself.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
It is. So I don't think there's anything at this point. we need to approve. If there is, we'll bring something back. Okay.
Auditors report.
I know one of the things for the auditor report that I was looking for was this, the summary of statement. I still don't, is it in here now? That's like the cover page, the summary of statement, where they give you like a one-page overview of the whole entire packet. So that's something that the auditor should be giving to us, I believe.
The auditors were here last time, right?
Yeah.
Last meeting, and they presented on it. I believe this is just their printed report of what they present to. And yes, there usually is. Right, yes, we didn't get this until after they had not completed this yet.
Should have, do we know if they've completed that summary letter for us to give us kind of
That's a
the
good question.
the action items that we need to do?
That's a good question. That usually comes later in the year.
Okay, so.
I think this is just the report. That goes along with their presentation. that they did last
Yeah.
Right, so they will do.
What's that on?
What's that?
Joy Jordan's-
Yeah, online, Nathan, Joy.
Joy Jordan's ski trip, of course.
Yes, so I'm gonna request again to take kids up to the mountain. That's how I got my passion of skiing, was the trips that Alan Brown back in the day would plan for Alcy School to go to Hoodoo. And I want to continue that opportunity because that was the only way I ever, was exposed to it. So April 1st is what I'm requesting. April Fool's Day, take the kids to Hoodoo. So if you guys will approve, parents, students, they would be paying, parents would be paying for the rentals, the lift tickets. I'm just asking for the school to provide transportation. I have people who were willing to chaperone, and yeah, I would drive the bus and take the kids.
How many kids?
Well, that we don't know. It depends. We'll find out as kids, fill out the paperwork and get that turned in. Hoodoo requires that to be submitted, the day before with, so that they know rental wise to have everything ready for the kids. So, yeah, last time we did it was 5 years ago, and I believe there was about 10 kids that went and hit the slopes.
How many chaperones do you plan on taking?
I plan on having at least 4.
Is there an age limit that you're doing this, Joy?
Yes, high school, yeah, freshmen through seniors, high schools only.
High school, okay.
Mhm.
Thank you, Joy.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Piece of paper in front of me, so there are no more patron comments.
I'd like to see something. I don't have a prepared statement, everybody. I don't even know if people know who I am. I'm Sarah Cash. My son Cash and I, Mild Water, and I moved here in 2015 because he'd already gone to kindergarten here with Betsy and Miss Cora. And when I got divorced, I was looking for a place where I could, have him in a good school in a nice community where I could afford to live. So here we are. And all this has just been such a whirlwind of confusion trying to find out what everybody's story is on all these different issues. But I have to say, the only thing that I am truly worried about are the students. And because I'm worried about the students, I'm worried about us losing this incredible staff that we have at this school, who kept the school open during COVID. Who taught online. It's all impossible. Ask anybody who's in education. They have literally stood by our kids through thick and thin. They're thinking about leaving. That's what I hear anyway. It's just more scuttlebutt. Could be true, could be not true. Please don't leave. The silent people in the community don't want you to leave. We're thankful to you. We're blessed to have you. So devoted to our kids. I'm a single mom. I don't have any family around here. You people on staff, the role you play in his life is profound. And I thank you all for always making my son welcome. Okay. I love it that my kid goes to school where every single person knows his name. And if they don't, you say, the great big redheaded kid in 8th grade. Or it was, first it was the great big redheaded kid in kindergarten, and then it was the great big redheaded kid. You can get the picture. Okay, so I got really passionate there because I feel really passionate. And that's all I have to say, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't imagine why on earth you would do such a thing, but I'm truly grateful to you.
Well, thank you. I gotta respond to that and say, look, what you just shared is why I'm here.
Gotcha, you too.
I wasn't sure what I was gonna get when I got here, but it's evident. It's evident. So it's an honor to be here.
Comments? Second reading of policies. We have
table on that.
Have a third reading, I totally forgot to make it.
I was gonna share.
I just need your service.
I typed that thing all the way down. with my
Is there any, are there any critical ones that we need to take? Do you know, Ron?
And I haven't had a chance to review. it, so
Okay.
that's- I think that's.
I'm
we
happy
talked
to
about it
loan you my
much.
book. This is my snoring book.
I got plenty of reading to do, I know.
She set her own timer.
Items. Consent agenda action items. A, B, D, B, and H. But we've already done B and we eliminated that, SI.
Right, we take one.
Yeah. Yes. Keep in mind. that one comes to the quality score, there's one from-
So we just kind of go through our list of checks here and ask what. checks are. So we have Lexi here, that's one of our programs, right, online for the grade school.
Yeah, that's a learning.
With my brain around. Sandra, opinion?
She's our third grade teacher.
Is that an education reimbursement?
Yeah.
Okay. Presence learning.
Online service program provides services for our
Thank you.
Barbara.
For me, that one is, part of IT stuff. I think that's what I looked at.
to be one of our psychologists. I'd have to look at.
Incorporated and work with it.
Okay, I'm sure then it's probably the, yes, that's probably our. We have to look at contractors for. psychologists.
Is there a difference or did we accidentally just?
One
use two?
has a fund on it, the other one doesn't. as well.
Okay.
So they're the same. I'm not very good at lumping things together, so I kind of like them separate. Personally, so I'll just make a motion we pay the bill. Then we can talk about the rest of the stuff on the. That's okay.
Seconded, all in favor? Separate, or we doing-
Yeah, I'm not good at lumping things together just because if I have a question, I just don't want to.
Sure.
I don't even know if the secretary
where's-
extended insurance coverage.
Where's the information for that?
Okay, this is what you guys do. Section, but we didn't bring it forward for a vote. It's for the 2 years of. insurance. You did it in, you did it in. the 2 meetings ago.
We had so many lately.
JH, does that help? I don't know if I'm supposed to. do it all. You guys discussed it, and agreed on it, but we didn't have that.
Hey, guys. I know we was.
Oh,
yeah,
yes, yes,
okay.
yes.
All right, got it. I'll make a motion to extend the insurance coverage.
Yes, no.
A second.
Thank you.
Been motioned and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
George Jordan ski trip, April 1st.
I'll make a motion to approve the ski trip for the drivers, paying for the compensation for the drivers with the ski trip.
I'll second that motion.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Local service plan. We table.
So just a question on the appointed budget committee members. So Ken Vogler was part of the site supervisor, and so that kind of seems like maybe a conflict there.
So he was paid by the contractors team through our bond funds. Is he still on contract and employed through our contractor receiving bond funds, those dollars? There's no longer employed in that.
Good question.
Excellent.
And all of these candidates are voters in our district. All of these
I know
addresses.
Kimberly is, I know Ken is, and Joni
Joni.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would like to make a motion to appoint the budget committee members, Kimberly Lanning, Ken Vogler, and Joni Olson.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
So the Alsea School District 7J Board of Directors approved Paul Rogers and Company PC to official audit for the district for the years 22, 23, and 24.
Why
That was a separate audit, right? Is that the second
This will be our
conversation?
new auditor.
Yeah, this was the second one.
This will be our new auditor.
So I'm sorry, we'll be using Acuity and this one.
No.
No,
Just this
we
one.
only
So
need one.
just this one. Okay, and
so the ESD went out for an RFP to obtain a new auditor for the next 3 years. And this is the one, this is the organization that the ESD is recommending, that all member districts accept.
can I ask, when they go out for a new auditor, what specs are they looking for? What's the historical feedback that we get and things like that?
Good question. There are certain criteria they have to meet, such as licensure. They look at history, they look at cost, a lot of different things. I don't know exactly what the RFP looked like from LVL. 30 minutes technically. 35.
You should know this already.
Of course.
Of course.
Dump all this in my brain all at once. But that's typically what they do. They do set a list of criteria. I could get a hold of the RFP and let you know if that's something they're interested in, but
I would be interested in seeing the RFP. I have no,
Okay.
actually, I'd be interested in seeing the RFP. Is there a concern from anybody if we table accepting this until after we see that RFP?
I don't believe this is something you would have to approve now. Although they may have a deadline of when they let them know, and I don't know what that deadline is. I would have to ask them.
So yes, I'd like the RFP. That's my ask.
So it's up to the board if you want to approve it tonight or you want to wait for the RFP.
I wish we knew the deadline or the date.
I don't know. I don't know specifically.
I'm under the belief that we have a little bit of time on that.
I would share in that same sentiment.
So I ask if we table until we get that.
I can't guarantee it, but I would assume that, it's only March. I would
Yeah, this is the deadline of June 30th, so should
Yeah.
give us at least another month.
It should. It should, yes. I don't know the conditions where they are.
Table it.
So
The coaching.
A and B, oh, and C.
Oh, well, yeah, actually, well, what is A and B, and what is A for? Just as middle school assistant coach.
So you have 3 coaches in front of you for the Alcine brick and mortar. Jasmine Benson. Sorry, thank you. And Jordan Zacharias.
Yeah.
Mr. Eric. wanna Say anything about that, those recommendations?
We've got Joy.
Oh, Joy. Joyce still on?
What's Jasmine coaching or assistant coaching?
Jasmine it's for middle school assistant track coach.
Okay, thank you. And then Joy. Well, and I guess maybe not Joy. I still am questioning the softball coaches. I'm under the impression that we voted for a club, not for a team. And so I know we have another teacher who runs a club. I don't believe he's getting paid for that. So I mean, I don't know why we're paying coaches for club purposes. And I guess I have a problem with that, and I want to know what that does for our kids that want to maybe go to another district to play also. How do we, if we're coaching a club program, does that restrict them from going elsewhere?
We can't, as a school, we cannot have a club, if we can't have a team affiliated with a school. A club team has to be completely separate per OSAA regulations.
So having only a few students, why would we not go in and play in Columbus? I know that was a problem before.
Out of the student athletes that are interested, only one, or that are interested for LC, only one wants to play at Philomath. Rest have before and do not desire to go there again.
And now if we hire coaches, we restrict that person from even going to Philomath.
Yes, the one that is going to Philomath would have to play on LC's team.
So how many kids do you have for these?
I have 9 softball players. And then there's the one plus, not counting the one that wants to play at Philomath.
Just like as a board, we had said no to an official team. We had said this was a club program this year because there just wasn't enough organization and time, and that moving forward, we would consider that with an effective time and cost limitation. So I'm not really comfortable with the change in process.
And 9 kids isn't enough anyway.
Joy, I really appreciate you being honest with us on the numbers and being willing to talk to us through the answers on this. Thank you very much.
Nope, and I apologize for that. I'm not knowing the club differences and how to proceed, that we couldn't proceed as a club. And so.
We are learning too. Thank you.
Mhm.
So how's the online? Red teacher.
I think you had a middle school assistant track coach.
We do have a track coach.
So, and we'll need a motion that you're tabling or.
I'll make a motion to accept or to hire Jasmine Benson as our assistant middle school track coach.
Second.
Motion seconded. All in favor?
Aye. I don't think we should move forward with the softball coaches. So, well, you can just get in the water, and we make a motion not to hire them. They're already coaching.
Coaching. So what do we do with softball tournament?
What do we do with the softball program, Mr. Gallagher?
This is all brand new for me. Joy, you still there?
Probably not.
Joy, you still there?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay, so it sounds like you were unaware about the club designation for softball.
Yes.
Okay. I would have to take a look at our positions and I would have to review the board notes and see what was exactly approved. Talk about programming to support club. Because if the board approved the club designation, we still have to have somebody helping the girls. We just can't turn them loose. Somebody's still there.
And if that's the case, and if we have to have somebody there, then I want to look at who else is running clubs in the school, because if we're not compensating others, then I want to know
Yeah,
what, I just, that's my ask to kind of look at that
So-
whole picture
So
overall,
Joy, do we have any other club sports going on in the school district?
clubs in general. If we have an automotive club,
Oh, you're talking club.
I'm talking clubs in general, like we have
Okay.
people that are
Clubs,
running.
club sports and like an automotive club are
Two different
two
things.
separate animals.
Yes. two
So,
separate
but we didn't delineate that either. We said, and so I feel like that's, I don't know, we didn't. We're gonna
I-
split
I- I
hairs and
get-
say
no,
that
yeah, I
that
get
somebody
what you're
gets paid
saying.
and somebody doesn't.
Well, no,
because-
I agree with you completely.
There is a difference.
Yeah.
That's-
But we're not paying are we paying the automotive?
I don't believe we are.
I would have to look.
I wouldn't take the money anyway, sorry.
There's no patron comment.
Then that was for online.
That's just, yeah, that is for the like Spanish. Spanish.
I just want to be consistent across the
Yes.
board. So if
I
we could just
agree.
get the information, be consistent across the board, that's what I'd like.
Well,
the
what's
information on.
boys and girls, or is that not club finance?
I'm not involved with Boys and Girls Club. So,
I would need to evaluate the
That's in
whole,
the brick and
it
mortar.
depends on negotiations, policies, factors I have to take a look at, or I can answer your question.
So could we table this for now?
Yes. And then we'll tell people that work in the girls. That's a difficult.
I mean, I realize it's not fair to them that's already working with the girls, but we had already decided it was supposed to be a club. I'm sure of it, not last month, the month before January.
Okay, that's a really good point, Joe, because our whole purpose here is for the kids.
Yes.
And I have to bring myself back to that too, because.
Yeah.
I don't want to put my foot so thick in the sand that I through their chance to do something else.
So some options.
Joy,
It was January.
what are the options of the kids if they? Talk to me again about what delineates it from a club and what does that look like? School
The,
right?
yeah, it can't be affiliated with a school, so it can't be called Alcy, school softball. And they're affiliated. So the school can't, I would say that the school couldn't support it.
Then we also would be then, would they even have a chance to play games anywhere? Like, is there anywhere that would be set up?
It would, getting into, Corvallis Parks and Rec for that is where I would assume, so. But once I don't know how much, if I'm that school athletic director, how much organizing can I do if it's not supposed to be affiliated with the Alcy school?
You're absolutely right.
I hear exactly what you're saying.
Tabling, because I just don't think it has anything to do with the school. Not that I'm not for the programs, because
Sure,
I'm
sure.
absolutely for the program.
Except if they're on our property and they're practicing on the week and they're under insurance and liability, then are they not? So then we either have to say they can't practice until the next board meeting and we make a decision on it.
We're probably halfway to 3/4 way through the season by now.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're not gonna have any games with any of, or anybody in the league, our leagues. So they're gonna have to go to Corvallis and prepare.
So Joy, what is the plan with the girls softball club program?
We have, yes, so we have 4 games tentatively is scheduled, with 2 of them are double headers. And we were going to be playing JV teams only. And then for spring break, we were going to be going to scheduling it at a field either, in Corvallis area or Philomath, the middle grounds for the students to get there and to actually have a field to prep for the games. But then once the games get going, then they were gonna just be playing. And I was,
If they're playing against JV teams and they're playing against other schools and they're representing our schools, so then it's not a club.
It's not a club.
yeah, and it's not a club.
So that's how you've been working forward on this, is as it's an LC team.
Yes, that was my mistake, not knowing the difference between what the club differentiation was. And I had schools reaching out to us excited that for JV opportunities.
So Joy, do you feel that we're meeting the OSAA requirements for a girls softball team?
The OSAA requirements for a girls softball team, yes.
Is there enough players to meet that?
Is there enough
requirement?
players to meet that, Joy?
Why,
Games on the team.
why are we also not discussing baseball? We do have boys playing too.
I did not get applicants for baseball coaches.
So we have no.
Then why are they
boys
practicing?
Baseball team.
They're not, the baseball team are not practicing. We have some boys that are volunteering to help with the softball. There has not been anybody attending baseball, showing up for baseball practices, or I shouldn't say anybody. We had 3.
This is exactly why we decided to do club, because we're not prepared to do this year. And myself and some other board members voiced that yes, we want baseball, softball, and all that, but we need to have it be prepared for it, and we would like to do it next year. So club, and so here we are.
So there is some Title IX issues. You bring that up, right? We can't just say girls. One or the other. We have to look at package deal. So in that respect, I would recommend that. In the other respect, we have some excited girls.
Yeah.
That are practicing.
Boys are practicing with the girls, and I think that's a violation. We can have them practicing
Yeah.
together.
No, we can't.
Yeah,
Are the boys practicing or just?
I don't know. Joy,
Even either way, they can't do it.
So if I put myself in the position of the shoes of the girls and I really want to play, or the position of the shoes of the boys and I really want to play. I know, I'm just sorry, I'm just pausing to get my capacity filled here. If we don't have a program here, we allow them the option that they can go to Monroe or Philomath and they can play there.
And that's.
Well, it would only be, it's only Philomath is the only option.
Why is Monroe not an option? If the-
Monroe will not co-op with Alcy, and we can only have one co-op, and Philomath are the only ones willing to co-op with us because it doesn't affect their numbers to jump, to bump them up, versus Monroe, it would affect their numbers
Okay,
and bump them up. And yeah,
thank you.
So Joy, if we stayed as the club designation, that would still allow girls in the softball club to participate with Lowell. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, and I would like to clarify too, that I misspoke with saying we didn't have baseball coach applicants. We had a one applicant that is ineligible to be hired at this time. So just to clarify on that, but but to proceed on, I'll see if we proceed as a club, the school cannot be, it can be affiliated with the school. So
Can they practice here after school?
after school, yes, that's what the Met Club, does that for wrestling, and they, but it's not called, it's not in, it's the Wolverine Met Club, not LC School Mat Club.
And then, so the girls could practice here, could the coaching applicants coach, but not as LC coaches, like we wouldn't be paying them, we wouldn't be giving them, they would just
Yeah.
be club coach essentially of their own.
Right, volunteers are done.
Yes, and we could give them the resources to schedule games.
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
Oh, and then we can connect them with the resources to schedule their games.
As a club.
Yeah, I would, I'm just saying, as athletic director, I could not facilitate scheduling their games.
Right, you
We'd have to do
put
it
them
on
in
the-
contact with Paloma so they could participate with Paloma.
Talking co-oping,
Joy,
you're talking co-oping, Joy, with Loma.
Yeah, that is still an option to co-op for Philomath and baseball.
But if they were a club, you're not. Correct?
If they're a club team, they can't participate against an OSA sanctioned team.
right,
So then they would have to schedule through, like the boys and
Girls Club or
right.
Parks and Rec.
parks, the whole thing.
So is there a motion we can make tonight that kind of leaves this door open to either club or co-op with Loma? That like we can leave so that they can figure it out and the girls can keep practicing and doing that, so we're not,
Well,
and the boys even for that matter, actually, because if there's boys that want to play, I mean, leaving that open.
Well, it sounds like if we're gonna approve anything via a sanctioned LC program, we need to get the boys and the girls at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it sounds like the board has already approved. Softball.
It was the program as a whole, it was both boys and
As a
girls.
club.
Yes.
So rebuttals, why would you approve the club? that's not approved? Yeah. With it, yeah.
I think when my understanding, when you guys were talking about the club, was basically not a varsity program. I think that's what the difference was. So Joy was scheduling AB's games that are much less competitive. They weren't the big schedule. So like, it was basically being a non-league volunteer. So I'm not trying to speak for Joy, I'm not the athletic director, but that was kind of my understanding is that you guys were saying, hey, we want these kids to get a start this year and get going. And to do that, it was I think the term was club, but it was more of my understanding of what you guys were trying to say is a non-varsity team not put into a league schedule. And so then Joy was scheduling JV teams as a club, because this is during the OSA sports season. Schools cannot have clubs now during summertime.
Yeah, and you can have.
Play
Yep.
softball.
Yeah, right.
20 games a week, doesn't matter. But during this time, you're not gonna find other high school teams to play. So if you're saying, hey, we have enough girls for a program, you have 9, I think I heard it was 9 girls for our school, that's pretty nice. And they can play some JV games, and that's what it's like. That to me sounds like a great opportunity for those kids. For Title IX, the boys have the opportunity, because my understanding right now, we don't have 9 boys, and then baseball, you have pitch counts has some different wrinkles there that if the boys are wanting to participate, they might need to co-op in Cologne. If they are wanting to participate in baseball, because there's not enough to even get JV games in place. At least that's my understanding of the boys situation. Without having you can look at having a girls program that's school sponsored, the boys have that opportunity.
I think you said that perfectly.
Is there, does Elsie have a policy on does Elsie have a policy on the amount of students we need on the softball team and baseball team? That differs from OSA. And then how many do we need on the team for OSA?
Well, like you said, for baseball, there's pitch counts and that's so that you're needing extra players
Yeah.
because
But you only need 9 for softball. Is what you're saying? For
I
that.
believe that is correct.
Joy, do you know?
9.
I actually know.
Roxy Smallwood's been working with them this week.
So you need 8 to start a game and you only need 7 to finish a game. 9 total players are on the field. So if they have 8, they can start a game, but they can only lose 1 player at that point in time. So they would be, if there was an injury, if somebody got sick, if something happened, you could end a game with 7. I was contacted by a high school boy who does want to play baseball. He is adamant. He's been recruiting all week. I was out there the first couple of games. Their numbers have grown throughout the week. They're up to 5. 1 did guarantee he was coming and has been to practice, but just wasn't practicing. So that makes 6. And they said that they actually have 3 more. So they may possibly be able to fulfill a team by next week. So even though we gave them the extended week to get their numbers up this week, they haven't done it, but they do say that they will have numbers next week. I think it's just fulfilling a coach. I'm willing to help out, but I cannot make that a permanent position for myself.
So can
And-
we start with a JV schedule for them, just to get the program off the table.
Joy, I think that's to you. Sorry.
Yeah, and for the baseball, we have a coach that wants to coach. So I don't know where things are at with the administrative leave, but and that's also why the boys aren't showing up, because they don't know what's happening with the coaching situation. But we're, like I said, Roxy's helping out, Leroy's helping out. People are stepping up to help out, and again, like if the leadership part's being questioned, then that this is shown in every aspect. If the leadership's being questioned, it's hard to follow, hard to show up. So but the boys want to, even the Monroe, we have a player who wants to play based out of Monroe and is just trying to figure out, is Elsie going to have a team or not on the baseball side. So sorry, please remind me what were games. Yes, Celeste was wanting to play baseball and softball games, and I was told other schools to reach out to for JV baseball games.
Joy, we have the components for a girls softball team right now, and you've scheduled games for them, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And it's still pending on whether we'll have enough for a team for baseball at this point, correct?
Correct.
So what the board could do, they would have to change their vote from 2 meetings ago, which was to just simply have softball as club, to they're approving a LC girls softball team pending the out or not section. And in regards to baseball, to make sure we're meeting Title IX requirements, that we're waiting to see if they have the numbers to formulate a team. So we would have, if they did, we would be supporting them also at the next board. That way we can continue with the softball pieces that already been in place, but we take the board action to rescind what you voted on before in terms of club. Say, no, we're gonna, not for baseball or excuse me, softball team, prove it as a team, but move forward with the schedule that the way it's done and with the coaches that have been there.
And I just like to say too, with track, you know, we only have 3 students participating in track, and these kids need something to be participating in. So just saying that.
So if we have a baseball team or a softball team, we're not gonna have a track team, is what you're saying? Yeah.
We already don't have a track team. Track meets are starting next Wednesday, and we have 3 student athletes. So, I mean, we have a team, excuse me, but there's 3.
And you can have a track team of only 3.
Right.
Yeah. So sorry, I misspoke, but it's only 3 out of our high school population are participating in track.
So are these 3 wanting to play softballs, or are they gonna quit track to do softballs?
No,
It's a track team, and you can have just 3 on the track team versus you need
Right, I
more.
just that, but what I was afraid of is if we say, okay, let's do softball, then the track team is gonna move from there over to softball. That's-
We don't know at this point.
Yeah.
Do we enjoy it? We approve.
no,
that.
they have been, 1 out of the 3 was wanting to play baseball. So. And they were told that they could participate in both.
If we hadn't had the option for softball, baseball that we don't really have the number for, would any of those kids play gun track?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that very well. Was that question?
We had discussed this before, and I'm asking again. If we had not pushed the button for baseball, softball this year, would we have had other kids that are now playing softball that would have done track?
No, because I don't believe really the button was pushed that very hard for softball and baseball. As I had so many unknowns, I did not push it very hard. And so as hard as would have, but also with it being supposed to be club, it was, said so. No, it was not advertised very much, and track was. So
I just wanted to add one more. I was at the first practice when they discussed track or softball to the girls, and the girls and the coaches both had a conversation that pretty much said, if you want to do both, you can do both. And the reason being is because they were so short players that it wasn't as if they could bench somebody or not allow somebody to play if they did decide to run track. So none of the girls that I saw out there, out of the 6 or 7 that were there, had zero interest in track. And the 4 boys that showed up when I was there had zero interest in track also.
I'm with you, Linda, but I don't want to say no to the girls either. But this is why we made this decision.
This is
in
why we
January.
made the decision. the other way we were doing this.
I guess, I mean, I feel like it's punishing the kids if we say no, but nobody listened to what we said to do also, which is a little bit frustrating.
Well, and we had specifically said, let's see what we could do to get it together for next year, informational only, unless they wanted to do a club. So, but I don't want to punish the girls either.
Right. Yeah, the last thing I remember talking over here is the built this year.
Yeah.
In other words, the number of young people playing in games and building their skills.
Yeah.
They play a game out of Dallas somewhere. Well,
I kind of feel like we made that really clear in January when we discussed it.
probably did.
So I think we should stick with that and support them doing their club, but not financially, but as parents and I mean, that's how I feel because we made this very clear. That we weren't going to do that this year.
Well, yeah, my apologies to the board for not understanding JV and club differences.
So do we have money invested in this already as a school? Are we invested into it? Have we bought equipment? If we, did he get any of the grants that he was?
Yes, he did it. He did get grants. I think it was like $10,000. He bought $10,000.
Clemens grant or Clemens.
Well, some of it was that. Got stuff from Northwest.
So where are they practicing out here?
Yes, they're practicing in the upper field right now. We've measured out bases and, been using the batting nets, and there's even more equipment that just needs to be picked up from LBCC for more that they need for batting safety.
This is that we kind of have construction going on. We've said we were going to do getting permits to put in an office building out there. And also that's also a section of that property is to put the shop in. So are you gonna have enough room to get balls and not hit construction workers
For traffic driving by.
out there?
No, it's,
Right around.
Scott left it.
George? Joy? How
Yes.
Softball season go.
Softball is, we had games scheduled. The last one is, I'm looking, is with Chippewa for softball in May 10th. So I didn't have anything scheduled after that. Like I said, four games with 2 of those double headers. Is all that's been scheduled. Or I should say 4 dates, 6 games.
But possibly break down.
I doubt
Well, this is a tough situation to be in, because I want to support them. I've always supported athletes. I think they're super important, academics and then athletes, because it just keeps you involved in school. So I guess since they're already practicing and donations to support them.
They bought, I would imagine both the boys and girls have bought gear of some sort of their own.
So I guess I'm gonna move forward in supporting them.
We'll have to make a motion to.
So I'll make a motion to hire.
No, we have to rescind our previous
Oh.
motion.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to rescind our softball, baseball club that we worked on in January.
I second that.
Then motion and seconded to rescind club designation. We're in favor.
And now I'll make a motion to hire Shelby and Jordan for girls softball coach and assistant coach. And then are we leaving the door open for baseball?
How do we,
Let's leave the door open for baseball if we can get a coach and a team
well, we
together.
still have to approve that process, but. Programs, we need to-
Yeah, and the jobs are still posted. Or
Yeah,
positions.
there isn't one there
No,
yet, so
no.
we have to move forward with the softball
Yes.
coaches right now, so I
Yes.
make a motion. to
Yes.
hire
But
softball
is
coach.
does it have to be contingent on us meeting the standards for Title IX?
No, because if the boys come up with enough numbers, then we would be obligated to hire that position and move forward with it at that time.
So that's what I think we should do.
Yes, and that would be Title IX.
If for whatever reason there isn't enough boys and they still want to play, we have the availability of co-oping with Pullman for them to go there. So there is a program for them. So that's my motion, is to hire Jordan and Shelby.
And before we hire both, what's the normal head count for a team to have both a coach and an assistant coach?
Elsie does not have a minimum number of athletes for those two positions. And when you're traveling, I can speak from experience that you need a coach and assistant coach for when there are injuries. I've had to deal with possible concussion with a game going on, and it's not fair for the teams that we compete against, not fair for the players that need to continue to compete if there's not an assistant coach to manage that type of situation,
Oh, thank you.
regardless of the numbers.
Thank you.
I would agree with that.
Second. Did you already second?
No, I didn't. He said, I'm sorry, it's just
Oh.
confusing.
I will second hiring Ms. Verity and Ms. Zacharias, softball head coaches.
The motion seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Kelsey online.
Make a motion to hire Jenny Wiley, Elsie online sped teacher, and Forrest Miller, Elsie online LL teacher.
I'll second that motion.
Motion is seconded, all in favor?
I,
LCAHO.
hold on.
Abstain at this point because I'd like a head count of where we're at, like goal with hiring, and then I'd like to see where we're at above and below that goal line of how we're hiring. It's hard to keep track of what we have staff, and so I'd like to see that number line of what our goal of hiring rate is, and then where we're at above and below that line
So you're,
for all of our programs. So our online program, learn at home, and then brick and mortars too.
so define for me exactly what you're looking at.
So I'm looking for what the sweet spot is of hiring and what we need to run our schools and where we're at and how we fluctuate each month on the resignations and hires.
Yes,
We're hiring things, but I never know where we're at in the numbers and
We're
what we're
at
hiring.
numbers.
And so I'd like to know that compared to our
like
student
we have one
populations.
teacher for 100 kids online.
Yeah, I'd like to
Which
know
I,
what
we
that,
don't, but
I just like to know what that number is so I can have an idea of what we're hiring. what we have resigning.
I think we can put that together.
So that is-
So basically report on, you're looking for certified staff,
Actually, I'd like to see all the numbers.
certified
I'd like
and
certified
classified.
and classified, yeah.
Sometimes it's difficult to attach classified to a certain. A lot of the classified that I've experienced are with multiple ads. A lot of things for us.
Can we see just where the classified are, not compared to the student trends, but just where we're, what our count is?
Yeah, we could do a report on staffing.
Yeah.
I think we have a motion on the floor,
Yeah.
so it's been seconded.
I just abstained because I want answers before I vote on it.
LHO.
Information on going home, I can tell you that right now.
that afterwards too. I want to see it every month. I want to see that consistent trend of hiring. And
That's what I'm saying, I can we have 12 teachers. 12 teachers that are Virginia, 12 IEs that are 5 SPED teachers. SPED students. That's for, this is online. It's for all the online programs. It's under, yeah, it is under online. But for service. ELL, which is 46 students. That is our one ELL teacher. The teacher is going to be focusing on our K1 program. Thank you.
I guess for clarification, is that the type of report you want to see?
I'd like to see, I'd like to see just numbers each month of where
Just
we're at
numbers,
and how we're.
not
Yeah.
necessarily names.
No,
You just want to
I
see-
don't want any names.
You just want to see
I just want numbers.
staffing and students.
Yeah, that'd be great. Staff and student ratio.
So we need Chris and our learn at home substitute.
Train a teacher to be an online substitute. Right now it's usually myself. Substitute for online, which is different.
And then Arthur Grove, learn at home, seventh, eighth grade math. It says kept position until 6/17/2021. It should be 2022.
That, yeah, it should be 20.
That's what I thought.
That, yes, I didn't see that. Yes, this is a to fill in for the remainder of this year, is a retired teacher who are
Christopher Smith, learn at home, and Elsie Brookmore.
Yes, so he'd be a substitute teacher. Have the possibility of coming here to be.
I'll make a motion, we hire Kristen, Arthur, and Christopher for the Elsie Learn at Home Oregon program.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Right.
Resignation, Kings Valley.
Motion to accept the resignation of Dr. Haley.
I'll second.
Motion seconded, all in favor?
Right. So before we do this next one, I would like to ask Mr. Crowe if he really wants to resign.
You guys have found a spot.
No.
Yep.
Would you like us to table that? Agenda item? Yes. For sure.
It was never my intent to harm or hurt any of our programming. You guys need to understand that I love this community very much. And I love our kids and our students very much. My intent of this resignation was to just kind of put the flag up a little bit that I can't deal with the divisions anymore. And it wasn't a political move, it was just, it was hurting my heart. I know it sounds corny, but I couldn't be involved with programs the way that they were being set up and ran with the divisions. I don't want to resign, but I don't want to be a part of a program that I feel is broken and creates divisions not only amongst the coaches and the programs, but then the students feel. I don't want to be part of that. I want to be part of a programs that builds unity and fills gyms and fills football stadiums and community feels tied together. And the students feel the support of the community, generational supports. That's what I want to be part of.
Can I ask you to table your resignation and see if some healing can happen in the community before you make the final decision on that? As a favor from me to you,
If you would like to do that.
would you like to do that, please?
I would like to do that.
Thank you.
We would love for you to do that.
Thank you, guys.
You mean a lot to us, Mr. Crowe.
There's
and
been,
our
there's been a
students.
lot of support, and I know that you guys don't know me very well, but I don't do very well with compliments and that kind of stuff, but I do want to say thank you very much for everyone. And I'm not from here, but I'm so very thankful for this community and the way that you guys have welcomed me and my family. And I want you to know that anything that I do is not based in vanity for me. It's for nothing but for these children.
And we know that, and that's why we've asked you to, if you would like to table, because I know one young man that you mean more than the world.
I appreciate that.
More than one. More than one, more than
I can
two.
only speak for the one I know.
It's this kind of stuff that will unify us to lead us to the other side of this.
So I would like to table Mr. Crow's resignation, please.
We'll agree on that.
Thank you, Mr. Crow.
Thank you, guys.
Motion to go ahead and accept the resignation of Mr. Vogler as a substitute bus driver.
I'll second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I read something? Can I do the board
Yeah, you can
comments
do
really
that.
quick? So this is classified staff week, and I promise you I had the best of intentions to write a long letter that addressed all of our classified staff. But the week got away from me and I apologize for that. So I just want to take a moment and off the top of my head, talk through some of what our classified staff do. So we have our bus drivers that wake up entirely too early and go to bed too late, but they do it for our kids to get them here every day. We have our office staff that deal with the paperwork. They deal with the phone calls. They get our kids to the office. They call when they're sick. They help in every way they can. We have all of our teachers' aides, from all into the school to our online programs that keep these classrooms going and these teachers supported. And then we have our facilities, we have our admin staff, we have our finance staff, all of you guys. So we couldn't run this school without you. We couldn't run it without the teachers, but we certainly couldn't run this school without the people that keep the wheels moving. So just thank you so much for everything you do. I apologize, I don't have any names to go with anything because I would leave all of them out probably, or at least a group of people. So just thank you. Just really appreciate all of you guys that keep this school going.
Right before we go into executive
Yes,
session.
I do. Yeah. It's
That's why I lost 30 and you gained it.
I know.
All right, you guys back.
It's always finders and keepers.
We're back live.
Yep.
So I would like to make a
Hold on.
motion.
Hold on. I will go, yeah, you're right.
The board chair needs to open general session.
Yes.
Back in the open session.
And I'll-
2205.
Oh, five. Approved or not approved contract extension.
I would like to make a motion to approve the list of employees for the renewal -1, non-renewal. Shannon Rice, temporary probationary administrator 2 as a non-renewal.
I have to abstain from voting in this for personal reasons.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Seconded. Writing down as abstain. Next meeting date, April 14th, 2022, regular board meeting.
Second.
What?